So I'm going to start by removing the bolts from the covers that are left. So that's going to come apart. This thing here is supposed to be all the way up to this roll pin. Push that roll pin a bit in. So I've actually removed the roll pin that was there. It's actually broken. You can see compared to another one that it's supposed to be at least half an inch longer. So now that I've got the roll pin in like that, so that it's even on both sides, I'm just going to tap this collar in like that, and it's ready to go. Remove the shear bolts, or the bolt, or the actual bolt I mean, that was installed here, which it shouldn't. Once you've got the shear bolts off, the auger will come off. Don't lose the little bushings here, and there's also a washer. I'm going to leave them on the counter like that just so that I don't mix them up when I put them back on. So here's the gear case. The gear does look good. So now I'm just going to remove the remaining bolts here. So now that all the bolts are off, this should separate and simply slide out. Also, there's a bunch of little washers here that I want to make sure I keep in their place. And there's also bushing. So now I'm going to remove these covers. Sometimes if you go to remove the covers and they won't go past where the holes were for the shear bolt, just simply grind it down just slightly, and it'll make it nice and smooth, and it'll make it so that this part can come out. The gear case all apart. The gear looks really good, so I'm just going to put my covers on. So when you put this back together, you want to make sure that the thin washers are on each side of this gear in the center like that. Next, you want to insert one side of the cover onto the shaft and slide it toward the gear. You can turn it this way if you want. Next, insert the small bushing with the 3 wires stuck to it on the grease, like this, on the end of your impeller shaft. I'm going to insert a lot of grease. It's a low temp grease. You can also use some synthetic grease in here. You want grease that's not going to be hard when it's -20 plus below outside. So you want quite a bit of grease. Not too much. And before I seal this unit, I'm going to put some gasket sealer all around this area. So I'm going to spread the grease around. So you want to spread the grease all over the gears. Put some at the end of the shaft here as well. Make sure that oil seal here is in place and that everything's tight. The next step now is to clean this properly and put some gasket sealer and put the other cover on. So the gasket maker I've put here is Permatex RTV silicone. And now it's time to put the other cover on. Now when you put the cover back on, you want to make sure that the oil seal here will go in this groove here. So when it's in right, it's going to be flush like that. So now it's all flush. I'm going to put the bolts back on. I'm actually going to put a bit of Loctite on them. When you tighten these up, you want to tighten them evenly. So for example, you would tighten this one, then that one, this one, like crisscross. So I'm just going to snug the bolts for now. And then do a final tight right at the end. You can wipe off the excess gasket maker with a rag so it's nice and clean. I'm just going to spin it over to make sure that the shaft's turning, and it is. I can see the hole for the shear bolt turning. So I think we're in business. So the next part of the video is going to be how to reinstall this part.